For many men, it can be hard to know exactly what role we can or should play in working towards an end to sexism.
Oh shit, that's right guys. John McIntosh is gonna tell us how we can help stop sexism.
How can men help, and how much or how little should we be helping? In this video, we will explore answers to those questions and share a few suggestions about how men can respectfully approach feminism and, critically, explain why it's beneficial for men to be involved.
Beneficial. Ha! My ass!
First things first. Because there's so much misinformation about feminism floating around out there in the cultural ether.
Misinformation like... what was it again? Oh yeah, hashtag hate all men.
It's useful to quickly define what that term actually means. Feminism is a socio-political movement with the central goal of ending sexism and dismantling gender-based oppression.
Well, that's odd, because when I bring up a dictionary, the definition is a range of movements and ideologies to help establish equal rights for women.
So contrary to common misconceptions, feminism is not about man-hating or female supremacy.
Good one.
So contrary to common misconceptions, feminism is not about man-hating or female supremacy. It's important to note that the feminist endeavor, as it's been defined by women like bell hooks, does not simply seek equal access for women within current systems of power, but instead seeks to transform those systems and the values associated with them. So where do men fit into all of this? Well, women have long been pointing out the ways in which men can benefit from feminism, and actively calling for men's participation in working towards ending sexism. As bell hooks writes in her landmark 1984 book, Feminist Theory from Margin to Center, like women, men have been socialized to passively accept sexist ideology. While they need not blame themselves for accepting sexism, they must assume responsibility for eliminating it. Men are not exploited or oppressed by sexism, but there are ways in which they suffer as a result of it. That bears repeating. Men are not exploited or oppressed by sexism, but there are ways in which we suffer as a result of it.
Well, good job doubling down on bell hooks doublethink, John, because how could someone not be exploited or oppressed by something, but they could still suffer from it?
We are taught early on that boys don't cry, that to show sensitivity or emotional vulnerability is a sign of weakness.
They could cry all they want as long as it's not something stupid, like when you're working and something goes wrong, and the guy bitch and moans about it instead of trying to fix the problem.
Men are discouraged from practicing nurturing, caregiving, compassion, and compromise for the same reasons.
Jesus Christ, are you saying we're all robots or something? I mean, you're kind of acting like one right now. But I don't know any guy who would act like that. And if I did, I don't think I would talk to them that much, because that would be kind of creepy. You don't necessarily need to have compassion to be able to compromise anything.
So there is an enormous amount of pressure placed on men to prove our manhood by acting tough, projecting strength, and repressing our emotions. This is compounded by the fact that men are often more admired for being aggressive, dominant, and violent than for being cooperative, vulnerable, and empathetic.
If you mean aggressive like someone being a complete asshole, then no one likes that kind of person. But if you mean aggressive like trying to pursue a goal aggressively, then people actually admire that.
Not only is all of this damaging behavior encouraged in individual men, but those same values are also reflected in our larger political and military institutions, often to disastrous effect.
Now, politics I could understand, but the military not being cooperative? Yeah, I think you're just talking out your ass.
To women, a byproduct of patriarchy is that it also causes real harm to men's well-being. Okay, so if we're on board with ending sexism, what specifically can we do as men to be helpful? Here's our quick list of 5 tips for respectfully engaging with feminism as men. Listen to women. Now that might seem really obvious, but far too often men have a hard time just listening to what women have to say and respecting women's knowledge and experiences.
People could say whatever they want, but if it's complete and total bullshit, they better be ready for the backlash. Same thing with knowledge and experience.
Because of the way we're socialized to think of our voices as most important, men have a tendency to interrupt and interject ourselves into conversations and then to dominate those interactions.
Oh, you mean like this red-headed feminist right here?
Shut the fuck up for the 50th billionth time! If you fucking listen. Can you shut the fuck up for a second too? Rape accusations discredit rape victims, which reinforces rape culture, which is part of patriarchy. The idea of certain people are inherently more valuable than other people because of superficial physical attributes is part of patriarchy. The idea that men should coddle and provide for women and or purchase their affections in romantic context is condescending and damaging
And look at his face. No wonder feminists hate men.
part of patriarchy. I'm reading, fuckface. The fact that women have long been shut out of dangerous industrial jobs by men, by the way, is part of patriarchy.
Oh man, that old guy's like, oh shit, there's more?
The idea that women are too weak to fight or too delicate to function in a military setting is part of patriarchy. Is part of patriarchy. Part of patriarchy. I don't know if you're noticing a theme. Patriarchy. Anyways, I'm not done. Not done. Shut the fuck up. Feminists do not want you. Shut the fuck up. Let me finish my list. Patriarchy. 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 Feminists hate patriarchy. We do not hate you, fuckface.
This behavior is so ingrained that men often don't even realize we're doing it, which is why it's critical to learn how to take a step back, to try not to interrupt, and instead actively listen and absorb what is being said before responding. Now, of course, this does not mean you have to agree with everything every individual woman says. No one person's perspective can ever represent all of feminism or the experiences of all women. It simply means that we, as men, are not in a position to define feminism for women.
Well, hold on there, misogynist. Didn't you just give a definition for feminism?
And that we should actively pay attention to women's voices, because for so long, women's experiences, women's perspectives, and women's ideas have been dismissed, ignored, and silenced.
Okay, fucking ignored. What about fucking Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn going to the fucking UN? That's ignoring it? Are you fucking serious? I can't believe this bullshit that you're trying to spew on.
It's especially vital to listen to women of color, particularly Black and Indigenous women, because, as feminist scholars have long pointed out, sexism is compounded when it's combined with racism and other forms of oppression. Back in 1989, Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality as part of her theory to describe these layered experiences that leave some women more disenfranchised than others. It's important for us, as men, to acknowledge that when we talk about feminism, we follow the lead of women. Yet while feminist ideas do originate with women, that does not mean that it's the responsibility of every woman to teach all men about sexism.
If women are going to teach me how bad sexism is to them, then I would think that's not really as big of a deal as they make it out to be. So, what's the point?
So we shouldn't go around interrogating or demanding answers from women. Instead, we should be proactive in doing the work ourselves by committing to continuous, lifelong learning. Lucky for us, over the past century, feminist scholars have written volumes on the topic. So here are some suggested readings about feminism and how patriarchy operates as a social system.
Alright, I'm just going to skip ahead because I don't really care about these books. I mean, if you want to see it, you could watch the full video yourself. And don't worry, I'll provide a link for you guys.
The place where men can be most helpful in regards to feminism is first within ourselves and then amongst other men. Patriarchy encourages men to buy into sexist thinking and at the very least remain complacent in sexism through our silence. So instead, step off the path of least resistance and dare to make yourself and other men uncomfortable about sexism.
Jesus Christ, why would I intentionally try to make people feel uncomfortable? That's just fucking insane!
Let the other men around you know that their sexist behavior is not okay. For example, when you stand up and say that a sexist joke is not funny, the men telling that joke can no longer be assured that they will go unchallenged the next time they tell it.
Okay, fine. But only if it's a really shitty joke.
In other words, those men can no longer count on other men to accept or go along with their sexism. Interrupting the sexist status quo is a simple yet powerful way that all men can make a difference. If you make a comment and a woman dismisses or disagrees with you, don't take it personally. She doesn't owe you anything, and her disagreement does not necessarily mean that she's angry or frustrated with you as an individual.
Oh, what fucking hypocrisy! You mean like Gregory Elliott, who got banned from the internet for disagreeing with one fucking feminist? And let's not forget that these fucking feminists think that it's harassment when you disagree with them on fucking social media! You gotta fucking be kidding me!
That being said, it's completely understandable for women to express anger about sexism. Sexism should make everyone angry. After all, most women have some first-hand experience with violence, or harassment, or mistreatment at the hands of men. Sometimes even men who claim to be allies.
Yeah, and vice versa. And then let's not forget that some gay guys are abused by other men, and then lesbians are abused by women. So don't just make it about women being abused by men.
So don't get defensive if individual women don't want to engage with you. And remember that it's definitely not our job to police the ways that women may choose to speak about sexism or their experiences.
Oh, but it's fucking fine for them to police us on our sexism and shit, right?
Men's support for feminism should not be seen as some kind of favor to women. As we've discussed, dismantling the system of sexist beliefs benefits people of all genders. And moreover, men shouldn't expect a reward for deciding not to participate in a terrible system of oppression.
Well, fuck that. If I'm not gonna at least get a sandwich, I'm not gonna do a damn thing.
Or, as many feminists have said before, you don't get a cookie for being a decent human being.
No, but Anita Sarkeesian, she gets $500,000 to fight this bullshit? And what does she do with it? Post 2 fucking videos a year? You know, she's really helping out the cause, isn't she? And then all you motherfuckers who just keep giving her money instead of putting it into something fucking useful. Like, you know, maybe buying food and giving it a food shelter so that some homeless people could fucking eat. Get the fuck out of here.
It's really hard to break years of socialization overnight, so messing up is inevitable. I have certainly made my fair share of mistakes.
Oh, I'm sure you have, John. I'm sure you have.
The key is what you do next. We always have a choice in how we respond to our mistakes. So be humble, examine your own actions, acknowledge failings, and continue to learn how to be better and more supportive. Sexism is not necessarily something always done consciously. It's something we're socialized to think is normal, and as such, it's something we often participate in without even meaning to. This is why challenging ourselves and reflecting on our own actions is a vital step in the process. But remember to be compassionate and patient with yourself, and keep working at it.
You know, I'm sure this is really good advice and everything, but not when you're talking about complete and total bullshit.
This is by no means an exhaustive list of advice, but it should give you a place to start. Now, if you're feeling a little uneasy at this point, that might actually be a good sign.
The only thing I'm feeling right now is complete and total rage! But I really can't help it now, can I? Because apparently, I'm a sexist man.
As men, the process of honestly re-examining our own assumptions and questioning our participation in sexism will often feel uncomfortable. But remember that even though we as individuals didn't create the system of patriarchy, it does manifest itself in almost every aspect of our lives, which means we do have a responsibility to challenge it. We must always recall our potential for positive impact in the world, and be involved in this work not out of personal guilt or shame, but because, as we've discussed in this video, the desired outcome is ending gender-based oppression and making the world a better place for people of all genders, including men.
Well, brah fucking vo, John McIntosh. Now I just have one final question. Is it worth it? Is it worth it showing us how much of a mangina you are? Because I don't think this feminist really appreciates how much of a mangina you are.
Great thing about this 5 ways men can help end sexism video is you don't have to watch it. Conceptually, it is a problem. not just problematic, it is a problem. I'm sure it is well intentioned. But you don't have to watch this video. And why? Because it's a man speaking about sexism allegedly on behalf of women. It's a man telling other men to listen to women. It's a man telling other men to be patient with women. It's a man telling other men to don't get defensive with women. And what this is it's still a man controlling the dialogue with other men.